It was our 15th wedding anniversary, and she made the reservation herself. I'm an architect, 42, calm by nature. I spend most of my days thinking in silence, sketching lines that later become someone's dream. That night, I thought I was living mine. She had on the blue dress I once told her made her eyes look like ocean glass. She smiled politely across the candle-lit table, but something was off. Her laugh felt delayed, her gaze a second too distant. She didn't touch her wine. The restaurant was quiet, soft piano playing. I remember thinking, she hasn't asked me a single question all night. I tried. How was work? She nodded. Same as always. I reached for her hand. She let it happen, but her fingers didn't curl around mine. Then, halfway through the main course, she put her fork down and said it, softly, almost like an apology. I'm done, Mark. I froze. She said it again, slower this time, as if trying to let me down gently. I don't love you anymore. I haven't for a while. I blinked, trying to grasp what I'd heard. I asked her if there was someone else. She looked away. This isn't about anyone. It's about me. The line felt rehearsed. People at the nearby table glanced over. She kept her voice steady, emotionless, like she was asking for the check. I asked her if she wanted to talk about it at home. She shook her head. There's nothing to talk about. I've made my decision. No fight, no anger, just finality. I asked her if she was unhappy. She said yes, but wouldn't explain further. I've been pretending for a long time, she added, sipping water like it was just another Thursday. I paid the bill. She didn't protest. We walked to the car in silence. Inside, she put on her seatbelt and stared out the window. I'll move out by the weekend, she said. I didn't answer. I drove us home, and all I could think about were the messages I had seen 3 days earlier. It was a Sunday afternoon when I saw the first message. We were sitting on the couch. She was scrolling on her phone while I reviewed some plans for a client in the kitchen. The only reason I noticed was because her screen lit up when she walked away to take a call. A preview of a text popped up. Same place as last time, 7, okay? The contact name was just the letter D. It didn't register fully at first. I told myself it could be a friend, maybe a colleague, but my stomach twisted. When she came back, I asked casually who had texted. She smiled without looking up. Just Dana from yoga. She never had a friend named Dana. That night while she showered, I picked up her phone. Locked. She'd never had a passcode before, not in 15 years. I stared at the screen, trying to breathe slowly. My hands were colder than they should have been. I didn't confront her. Instead, I started noticing things. She was always tired now. Her phone was always face down. She started taking walks alone after dinner, something she never did before. Her perfume changed. Little things. The following morning, I checked our iCloud account. I had set it up for her years ago. Back then, she didn't care about tech, so I managed it all. That hadn't changed. When I logged in, I felt like I was trespassing into a life I wasn't supposed to see. Dozens of deleted messages synced automatically. I opened one from D and read, "I couldn't stop thinking about you after last night." Another, "When are you telling him?" My throat closed. I scrolled through more, careful, methodical, not letting emotion take over. The messages were filled with inside jokes, emojis, snapshots from places we'd never been together. She wrote things to him she hadn't said to me in years. But it wasn't just betrayal. It was the familiarity in the tone, the way they teased each other, called each other by nicknames only close people use. Something didn't sit right. Something about the way D wrote to her. It felt too personal, too familiar. I couldn't stop rereading the messages. Every time I did, I noticed something new. Phrases, habits, even jokes that felt oddly recognizable. D wasn't just someone she was seeing. D knew her deeply. Too deeply. I printed the messages, every single one. I organized them by date, clipped them in a folder, and hid it in the false bottom of my drafting table. I knew I had to be methodical. No accusations, no emotions, not yet. I needed to understand what I was really dealing with. Then I saw it. A photo she had sent him. Her sitting on the edge of a hotel bed, laughing, holding a bottle of wine. Her shoes were kicked off, her hair still in the same braid she wore that morning. I zoomed in on the reflection in the mirror behind her. It was a man's silhouette, shirtless, arm around her waist. The timestamp said 3 weeks ago, on a night she told me she was visiting her aunt who had a migraine. The next message from D read, I still can't believe we got away with that. Your husband's got no clue. I felt physically sick. Then another message popped up, an old one, weeks back. It said, "It's weird talking about this with you. You've always been like a brother to me." My blood ran cold. I went back through more messages, looking for anything that would confirm what I was starting to suspect. There it was, a photo of him, finally. It was cropped at the chin, but the tattoo on the forearm was unmistakable. A compass rose, shaded in black and blue ink. My brother Daniel got that tattoo when he turned 21. I leaned back in my chair, closed my eyes. For a long time, I didn't move. The betrayal wasn't just marital. It was blood deep. My wife and my brother. I opened a new folder on my laptop, named it Dossier. From that moment on, I wasn't just a betrayed husband. I was collecting evidence, quietly, carefully, and no one could know. The next morning, I woke up before her. She was still asleep, curled to one side, breathing softly like she hadn't burned the world down around us. I sat in the living room with my laptop open, going over every detail again. Every message, every timestamp, every digital breadcrumb she and Daniel had carelessly left behind. I wasn't angry, not in the way I expected. It was something colder, focused, a numb, quiet calculation. Daniel, my younger brother, he used to idolize me growing up, followed me everywhere, copied my shoes, even went into architecture for a while before dropping out. We drifted over the years, but I always answered when he called, always had his back. Apparently that wasn't mutual. They had been careful. No names in the messages, short calls, late-night meetings in out-of-the-way places. But they weren't smart enough. Her GPS history showed hotel addresses. One of them was 15 minutes from our home. I saved the locations. There was a voicemail too. I almost didn't listen to it. Her voice, soft, intimate. "Last night was everything. You always make me feel like the only woman in the world. I wish we didn't have to hide." Then silence, followed by his voice. "Soon. I promise. He won't suspect a thing." I recorded the audio separately and saved it with the rest of the files. By noon, I had compiled the following: over 40 messages, 3 photos, 2 audio recordings, a GPS timeline, and 1 credit card receipt for a hotel under her name with a second guest listed as D. Oliveira. My brother's full name is Daniel Oliveira. I put it all in a password-protected folder, backed it up to a flash drive, then locked it in my office drawer. I didn't allow myself to cry. I didn't scream. I didn't confront. I didn't tell a soul. That afternoon, I kissed her on the cheek when she left for the gym, told her I'd be working late. She smiled and said, "Don't wait up." I didn't. I had other plans. I was going to dismantle them both piece by piece. But first I needed a lawyer. I searched for him late that night, long after she had fallen asleep beside me. His name was Ricardo Matos, divorce attorney, known for discretion, strategy, and results that left people stunned. A friend had mentioned him years ago during a dinner party, back when I never imagined I'd need someone like that. I sent an inquiry through his website with a short message. Urgent and sensitive. I have proof of infidelity and need to protect my assets. Please call. He responded the next morning. Direct, professional. I can see you at noon. Do not alert her. Bring everything. I called in sick to work. His office was in a quiet building downtown, the kind where the receptionist doesn't ask questions and the windows have blinds permanently drawn. When I walked in, he barely looked up from his desk until I placed the flash drive on the table between us. "Proof?" he asked. I nodded. He reviewed it silently for nearly 20 minutes. No reaction, just eyes scanning the screen. When he finally looked up, he said, "You're holding a nuclear weapon. We can make this clean, quiet, and absolute." I asked him what my options were. He explained that with clear evidence of infidelity, especially involving a family member, we could challenge her entitlement to spousal support, divide the assets in my favor, and potentially even use the moral damage to counter any custody arguments, though we had no children, thankfully. "But you have to play it exactly right," he warned. "No confrontation, no threats. Let her think she's winning." He laid out the plan. Prepare documents, initiate quietly, let her request the divorce officially. Once she made the move, we'd strike, with everything. Before I left, he handed me a checklist. Documents to secure, accounts to freeze, assets to protect. I would need to update my will, change passwords, and stop sharing financial information with her immediately. He looked at me one last time and said, This only works if you stay silent. No emotion, no reaction. She cannot suspect a thing. I shook his hand. On the way home, I stopped for groceries. She texted, "Can you grab almond milk?" I replied, "Of course." And just like that, I began the performance of my life. From that day forward, I became a different man. Not outwardly. Outwardly, I was the same tired, heartbroken husband clinging to a wife who had already let go. But inside, I was ice. Quiet, strategic, and watching everything. She began dropping hints, likely hoping I'd be the one to end it. "Maybe we just want different things," she'd say while folding laundry. "People grow apart," she whispered once, lying in bed with her back to me. I played my part. I stopped asking questions. I started sleeping on the couch to give her space. I made breakfast and asked if she wanted tea. She declined every time. I told her I loved her. She said nothing back. Meanwhile, I followed Ricardo's checklist like it was gospel. I opened a new bank account in my name only and moved half of our savings quietly. I documented every transaction. I transferred the deed of my car to myself. I removed her as a beneficiary on my life insurance. I updated my will to exclude both her and Daniel. Passwords were changed, accounts locked. I even placed a keylogger on the shared desktop to monitor any attempts she made to access my personal information. She never noticed. She believed I was unraveling. At dinner, she talked casually about divorce. "We should do this with dignity," she said. "No need for lawyers, we can just split things 50-50. I nodded, eyes low. "Whatever you think is fair." She smiled, reassured by my passivity. That was her mistake. One evening, I saw her typing on her phone across the kitchen. I watched her reflection in the microwave door. She smiled at something on her screen. She didn't even try to hide it anymore. Later that night, I checked the keylogger. She'd been searching how to keep house in a divorce and do I get alimony if I leave? I took a breath and saved the screenshots. Every day she thought she was winning, that I was broken, but I wasn't. I was calculating, preparing, waiting, and the trap was almost ready to snap. The divorce papers arrived 2 weeks later, delivered by courier on a rainy Thursday morning. She hadn't said a word about them the night before. Just a cold kiss on the cheek before bed and a soft good night that no longer meant anything. Now in bold print it was official. She wanted out. The grounds listed were irreconcilable differences. I read through every line twice, then a third time. She was asking for half of everything: house, savings, retirement. No mention of infidelity, no fault acknowledged, just a clean split, like we were business partners dissolving a company. I called Ricardo. He said, "Perfect. Let her file first. That puts her on record as the initiator. Now we respond with your evidence." We prepared a counter-petition, attached were the photos, messages, call logs, hotel receipts, and audio recordings. We included a notarized timeline and sworn affidavit confirming the identity of D as my brother Daniel. We also filed a request to deny spousal support on the grounds of marital misconduct. The court date was set. She didn't know I was coming armed. The morning of the preliminary hearing, she wore a beige blazer and a smug smile. Her lawyer looked like he was fresh out of law school. Young, cocky, overconfident. Mine was calm, precise, and had 30 years of knives sharpened in his briefcase. When the judge asked if we had any additions to the case, Ricardo stood and said, "Your Honor, we have compelling evidence of infidelity that directly impacts asset distribution and character evaluation." Her lawyer objected. Too late. Ricardo passed the folder to the clerk. The judge flipped through the pages in silence. I watched my wife's face shift, first confusion, then concern, then sheer panic as the judge paused on a photo. "Would the petitioner like to respond to this material?" the judge asked. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. The courtroom was silent. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering frantically. She whispered back, "He wasn't supposed to know." I didn't look at her. I looked at the judge and said, "I'd like to protect what's mine, Your Honor. Nothing more." And from that moment, everything began to unravel. For her. I didn't tell anyone right away, not my parents, not our friends, not even Daniel. I wanted the court documents to speak first. After the hearing, word spread quickly. My mother called me in tears 2 days later. "Why didn't you say anything?" she asked. I told her I needed to be sure before speaking, that I couldn't believe it myself until I saw the proof. Her voice cracked. "Your brother, Mark, Daniel." I said, "Yes, him." She went silent, then hung up. That weekend I was invited. unexpectedly, to Sunday dinner at my parents' house. I hadn't been there in months. When I arrived, my father opened the door without a word. His eyes were heavy. My mother was already seated at the dining table. And Daniel was there too. He didn't look at me. The air was thick with tension. My mother brought out the food in silence, hands trembling. We sat, we passed plates, no one spoke. Then, halfway through the meal, my father put his fork down and turned to Daniel. "Is it true?" Daniel looked up. He had the decency not to lie. "It just happened, Dad. I didn't plan it." My father's jaw tightened. "You slept with your brother's wife, and all you can say is it just happened." Daniel tried to defend himself, said they fell in love, that it started after he confided in her during a rough patch. I didn't say a word. I just watched as my family absorbed the weight of it. My mother began to cry. Daniel turned to me, finally. "I didn't mean for it to go this far." I replied, "It went exactly as far as you let it." He tried to argue, but no one wanted to hear it. My father stood up and walked out. My mother followed, shaking her head. Daniel looked around the room like a man trying to wake from a nightmare. But the damage was done. I left without finishing my meal. The next day, Daniel called twice. I didn't answer. She texted too, said we should all talk calmly like adults. I deleted the message without reading the rest. They wanted forgiveness. I wasn't interested in giving it. After the court ruled in my favor, everything moved quickly. The house remained in my name. Our joint accounts were split, but not evenly. She was denied any spousal support. Her lawyer tried to fight back, claiming emotional distress, but the judge wasn't interested in theatrics. The evidence was too clear, too deliberate. She moved out the following weekend, took her clothes, her books, the wine glasses she liked. I let her. I didn't say a word, just watched her pack in silence while she avoided my eyes. Daniel didn't show up to help. When she finished, she stood at the doorway with her suitcase in hand. "I never meant to hurt you," she said quietly. I nodded once, not in agreement, just acknowledgement. She waited for more. I gave her nothing. Then she left. For the next few weeks, the messages started coming. First from her, texts late at night, emails filled with half explanations and half apologies. "I was confused," she wrote. "I thought I wanted something different." Then came the voicemails from Daniel. Short ones at first, then longer. One even said, "Can we meet? Just to talk." I didn't reply. I changed my number a week later. My silence wasn't out of pettiness, it was peace. I didn't need closure. I didn't want answers. I had already accepted the truth. Some people break things not because they're evil, but because they're careless, weak, incapable of seeing beyond themselves. They didn't deserve my voice. I heard later, through a mutual acquaintance, that Daniel was struggling. My parents had cut contact. Friends were avoiding him. The guilt was visible. He tried to explain it to everyone, but no one really wanted to hear it. She, on the other hand, had moved in with a cousin in another city. No job, no ring, just consequences. Meanwhile, I kept my routines: work, coffee, evening walks. I returned to the quiet life I had before her. Only now I wasn't blind, I wasn't trusting without reason, and I wasn't afraid to lose anyone, because I had lost everything and survived. And that silence, it was the most powerful thing I ever said. I moved into a smaller apartment across town. 2 bedrooms, plenty of light, and not a single memory tied to her. It wasn't fancy. No sweeping views or designer furniture, just clean walls, quiet neighbors, and space that belonged only to me. For the first time in years, I chose every item inside my home. The curtains, the bookshelves, even the plates. No compromises, no silent negotiations in the middle of IKEA. Freedom, I learned, doesn't make a sound when it arrives. It settles in slowly. I started waking up earlier, making fresh coffee, sitting by the window with a notebook. Sometimes I'd sketch, sometimes I'd just watch the sky change. The silence no longer felt empty, it felt earned. Friends reached out, old college buddies, colleagues, even my former mentor. Some had heard the story, some hadn't. I told only what I needed to. The rest, I kept for myself. My parents came to visit one Sunday. My mother brought a plant for the kitchen. My father hugged me and said simply, "I'm proud of how you handled it." That meant more than I expected. I went back to work with more focus than I'd had in years. I designed a library renovation that got approved by the city council. Clients started referring me again. My name began showing up in industry blogs. Quietly, steadily, I rebuilt. One evening, I was walking through a park when I saw a man teaching his son to ride a bike. The boy fell, scraped his knee, and cried. The father picked him up, smiled and said, "Try again, buddy, you got this." I sat on a bench nearby and just watched, and I realized I didn't feel anger anymore. Not at her, not at Daniel, not even at myself. I felt something closer to gratitude, because the worst thing that happened to me also revealed the best in me. I never screamed, never begged, never stooped to their level. I let the truth do the talking, and now, when I close the door to my quiet apartment, I know exactly who I am. I'm the man they underestimated, and I'm finally home,